Matt Zurell, Bristol, Connecticut. Thanks, reps and senators, for the overtime this session. We all appreciate it, and we appreciate your conscientiousness in addressing some of these issues. I'm going to bounce around because somebody mentioned earlier in one of the first few pieces of testimony about the details. You all wanted details, so I happen to have a couple of quick articles with me. These are very concise. Great Britain's gun ban. Joyce Lee Malcolm, Wall Street Journal. Within a decade of the handgun ban and the confiscation of handguns from registered owners, crime with handguns has doubled according to British government crime reports. Gun crime, not a serious problem in the past, now is. Armed street gangs have some British police carrying guns for the first time. Article 2 from the Wall Street Journal about the DC ban. Jeffrey Scott Shapiro, a prominent lawyer from DC. Since the gun ban was struck down, and this was with, as you know, Heller versus DC, murders in the district have steadily gone down from 186 in 2008 to 88 in 2012, the lowest numbers since the law was enacted in 1976. Now, everyone knows that you can use statistics to your advantage or detriment, but I'd like to just, first of all, say that I strongly oppose the entire content of SB 1076. Here's what it does. I don't really have anything to read. This is it's been worked on for a while, was my impression, but the language buried in there, and I've polled quite a few people in the building, and I don't fault them for not reading it because everyone's doing their best and it really hasn't come up yet. But the language in that bill sends all of your constituents, a large portion of them, will, on paper, be eligible to go to jail. Okay? Your constituents, grandpa, I'm sorry for the hyperbole, but it's in the bill. You're going to send grandpa to jail. It's onerous. It's ineffective. The registration requirements are, I don't want to embellish because I like to be polite, but they're insane. And I don't know how else to say it. Detail-wise, if you don't comply, let's talk about the compliance and back up for a second. The compliance is impossible for the best-intentioned person. Mag ban. So that's all I have to say about 1076 because time is short. The mag ban perplexes me. I have police in my family, okay? I love the way they protect and serve. We all appreciate law enforcement. They carry 12 to 18 rounds in their firearm, okay? I face the same crime that a police officer faces. Here's the stats from 2011. 14,612 murders, 83,425 rapes, 4,396 robberies. Okay, we've all got stats to work with here now. I humbly submit, and this is a very delicate question, but please consider it. How is my life less valuable than a policeman's while I'm facing these statistics, the same crime, when the police in the majority of states, high courts have decided the 911 staff is not obligated to send the police legally? I'm open to opinions, and I want to stage that politely, but if anyone has input on that, I really haven't gotten an answer.
Matt, could you wrap up because we've got quite a few.
I'm done, thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Matt from any members of the committee? And we thank you. I think that information from Great Britain was very interesting. If you could get that to the committee, that article, I'd like to see it.
I'll make a package. I had to change my testimony last minute, so I will do that. Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Well, we do have a question, Matt. From Representative MIKUTEL.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did look at the bill, and to me, I don't know how greatly you looked at the bill, but it seems to be a gigantic expansion on the existing current ban on assault weapons. That includes virtually every semi-automatic weapon, be it a shotgun or a pistol or a rifle. And so it's, in effect, bans, I'm asking you your respond to this, in effect, renders guns that have been in existence for 50 years useless.
Well, okay, the AR-50, I was speaking plainly about sending grandpa to jail because the average citizen, a lot of them won't be able to comply. I was strictly speaking from compliance. The current ban has the 5-feature rule, which gets a little bit cumbersome to discuss succinctly, but the AR-15 was brought to the market by Colt in 1963. Okay, this is not something new. I don't know if I'm answering your question. Are you asking about what's out there now?
What? Get to the question about compliance. Let me ask you a pretty pointed question. What percentage do you think of gun owners would comply with this law if it went into effect?
I have no idea. I could not put a number on that. I could offer you the New Jersey gun ban stats if that helps you out. And the time frame eludes me. I think it was about 10 years ago. It might have been Clinton. But at the time, they had provisions laid out in their legislation similar to 1076, you know, a time frame of perhaps a year. Okay, so if we're talking, to your point, assault weapons, quote unquote, at the time of the ban, when they stamped the legislation, there were an estimated 100, and I can get you this brief, there were an estimated 100,000 to 300,000 AR-15 type weapons in circulation in the state of New Jersey. After 1 year, when they were supposed to be registered, the number of state residents that registered their weapons were 994.
Oh,
Don't shoot the messenger. I am not advocating non-compliance. I'm giving you statistics.
I'm not shooting anybody.
So currently, all right, to your point, Representative, there are currently residing in New Jersey tens of thousands of, I can't say it any other way, law-abiding outlaws.
Well, I think
no,
that,
and it's not funny. They're walking
you know,
around with this on their conscience. Good people and good citizens like your constituents all up here.
Well,
and the state police are on record saying we can't enforce this.
Well, there is a grandfather clause in the bill that grandfathers in people who bought these weapons prior to a certain date. But so they would, and I agree with you, they would be non-complying if, even though there's a grandfather clause in there, you're putting them in a box. In a bad spot, no matter how it is. So there will be, I believe, certainly the opportunity to turn law-abiding citizens into felons. I guess that's what the bill says. If they don't comply with the requirements after the bill is passed, even though they legally owned it up to a certain point in date, there's more obligations put upon them that they must comply with. And if they don't follow those compliance, they in effect are Class C or Class D felons.
Yeah, and my point when I first, as part of the first part of my testimony after discussing the ban, was to clarify the compliance aspect of it. That is it's onerous. It is just so onerous, and that's why I used, forgive me, Grandpa, who might have 50 weapons, 50 little pieces of collected stuff over the years. Okay. Go back and find the original documents. That's in the bill. How's he going to go find the original documents, or she, or anyone? The steps A, B, C, D, E, and F outlined in the bill to make him or her compliant they're not impossible to follow. But if you have, say, even more than half a dozen guns that have passed down in your family, you don't have this stuff. I guess in simple terms. So, and plus, I would just ask, what does it do? What in the world does it do when you ask your constituents that, all right, video games teach young kids how to shoot policemen. Right? Some music teaches impressionable youth how to shoot policemen. Your constituents who's the guy from January 28th? Bill Stevens' guns are collecting cat hair somewhere. Okay? What good does it do? What is the intent of finding these? The guns in Chicago, for 516 murders a year in Chicago with a gun, they're coming in with the drugs. And people talked about the Jersey ban, okay? And they said, well, our Jersey ban wasn't effective because they came in from the States. No, you can't. The criminals will always find a way to get the weapons. And one of these thoughts that I had, a lot of people have testified about, and I certainly, Newtown was the greatest sadness in our state. I don't want you to misconstrue what I'm saying. But I had this thought last night. I thought, I don't want to try to make a point with it, but let's compare a school shooting. If, first of all, you can't stop a deranged psychotic that's going to commit premeditated murder from doing it. They're going to do something like Timothy McVeigh with agricultural fertilizer, a truck and some gas, kill 138 and injure 800. Think about this, if you would, okay? The process that goes on that we don't even want to imagine, but somebody is committing a crime with let's say an AR-15, and they're walking through rooms and they're shooting people. They're always going to get the gun, but what if they didn't get the gun? They are intent on gaining infamy, and none of us in this whole building can imagine their intent and their deranged head. But what if you drive them to use explosives? If a deranged individual wants to gain infamy, they're going to kill themselves. That's how psychotic they are. And they blow somebody up, that's a whole bunch of people. All at once. It's a whole bunch of people. I'm going long, so I'm sorry.
Any other questions for Matt? No. Thank you very much.
All right, and thank you again for your service. I know it's difficult this session, so we all thank you.
Next was